I'm back and I've got a video for you which I admit was planned in November 2023, which is why it starts out with Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. And I want to say a special thank you to everyone on BookTube for just being awesome people, for being supportive and being there. It is my most read authors update for 2023. And I highly encourage all of you to do this as a tag video or a challenge video. Think about who are the authors that you have read the most books by. Great tradition with this video, going back for a long time on BookTube with a lot of BookTubers. And I also want to thank the people who've done this challenge, who've done this like a tag video, and actually figured out who their most read authors are. I've been doing this as an annual update. As of the end of 2023, here are my results. When you do this tag video for yourself, or if you're just wondering what my rules are, you are welcome to come up with your own individual rules within it. For me, what I am looking at is I am going into my Goodreads and figuring out what is marked in my Goodreads that I have read. Spent so much time the last several years trying to remember what I read throughout my life and to mark it in Goodreads. So number one, this list is based on what I have marked in Goodreads, which could be missing some books which I figured out in the past. Number two, I am not including role-playing game manuals and modules. Number three, for comic books, I'm only going to count compiled volumes or anthologies. I am not looking at individual issues of comics. And number four, I'm only including authors I've read 10 or more books by, which includes, for this update, about 32 authors with some ties in there. For the next update, the 2024 update, I am considering I might just restrict it to only authors I've read 15 or more books by. I encourage you to guess which authors you think will be on my list and where they're going to rank. Leave comments down below actively as you watch the video. Who do you think will be in my top 10? Who do you think will be in my top 3? Do you have a guess who my number one author is that I've read the most books by? And were you correct? Did you get it right? I know this may be difficult for you to do yourself if you don't have a YouTube channel or you don't make videos, but I would encourage you to get on that. And if you don't have a spreadsheet or database, or you don't use something like Goodreads or Storygraph to track your reading, I know it's more of a guessing game, trying to remember. But I bet a lot of you could do it just because you know authors you're committed to. Have to admit though, I have found some surprises in my own list. In the past, I did this most read authors for 2020. I did authors I've read the most books by. In 2020, I was surprised to see that my number one author then was Gary Gygax, who was a novelist, but also the founder of Dungeons and Dragons. In addition to the role-playing manuals and modules, he also wrote a lot of novels. So just counting up the novels, the books that he wrote outside of those game manuals and modules, he still landed at the top of the list. Of course, in 2021, I realized that I had slightly miscounted that in 2021, really my most read author was R.A. Salvatore, who's a fantasy novelist most well known for the Drizzt series. And he wrote some things like the Claret Quintet. In 2022, I was excited to see that my most read author was William Shakespeare, because he was the author of 38 published plays and a collection of poetry of sonnets, which made for a total of 39. That means for an author to beat William Shakespeare for 2023 for this update, that author has to have more than 39 books that I've read by them. Do you think that happened? Do you think somebody has eclipsed the mighty William Shakespeare? In 15th place, we have a six-way tie. We have authors who I have read at least 10 books by. The six-way tie is Douglas Adams, Bret Easton Ellis, Gardner F. Fox, Grady Hendrix, C.S. Lewis, and R. St. Clair. R. St. Clair is, of course, BookTube HorrorTube's own Regina St. Clair. In 14th place, we have a seven-way tie. It's Isaac Asimov, Dane Cobain, BookTube HorrorTube's own John Grisham, Henry James, Sylvia Moreno Garcia, Quentin Tarantino, and Gertrude Chandler Warner. In 13th place, we have a three-way tie at 12 books. It's George R.R. Martin, Larry McMurtry, and Dr. Seuss. In 12th place, we have a two-way tie. It's Gary Gygax and Neil Shusterman with 14 books. Wow, shows you how much things have changed in just a few years. In 11th place, we have a three-way tie with 15 books. It's Chuck Palahniuk, John Scalzi, and Margaret Weiss, who is usually with Tracy Hickman as a writing partner duo, but it is possible that some of that was with Perrin instead of Hickman. In 10th place, we've got a two-way tie with 18 books. James S.A. Corey, which we all know is a writing alias from the expansion. That's really two authors writing under one name. But also Robert Jordan with The Wheel of Time and Conan books and all of that. From this point out, it's no more ties. The rest of them are just one author each. In 9th place with 19 books I've read, it's Brandon Sanderson. Good old Brando Sando, Brand Sand, or even Brand Sand if you really want to abbreviate a whole lot. And then in 8th place with 21 books, it's Agatha Christie. So many great mystery detective novels. In 7th place with 22 books, we've got R.A. Salvatore, that winner from 2021. In 6th place with 23 books, it's Jolly R. Blackburn, an author that many of you may have never heard of, but who wrote the Knights of the Dinner Table comic series, which was put together in various volumes, compendiums, and if you are into role-playing games, they are really funny. And now, the top 5. In 5th place with 24 books, it is Anne Rice, master of not only vampire novels, but witches, mummies, werewolves, all kinds of great stuff. In 4th place, we've got Jim Butcher, best known for the Dresden series, but also an author of other fantasy novels. In 3rd place, it's Stephen King, the king of horror, with 38 books. That almost got to beat our 2nd place this time. It's William Shakespeare with 39 books, the 38 official published plays of Shakespeare, and the collection of poetry, collection of sonnets. That's 39, which means somebody beat William Shakespeare. My most read author as of the end of 2023. In 1st place, I've read 40 books by this author, and I must admit, I purposely read more books by this author to get the number to jump up last year. I read so many books by this author. I wanted this author to be in 1st place, at least for one of these updates. One of my all-time favorites, it's Alan Dean Foster. He is probably the best author when it comes to novelizations of films. But not only has he written a lot of great film novelizations, he's also written a lot of his own books. A ton of science fiction, books that combine science fiction and fantasy. Fun, interesting, quirky characters, though admittedly, some of them a bit childish. It's Alan Dean Foster. Proud to have him as number 1 on my list right now, but I can tell you, as of right now, I don't think Alan Dean Foster's gonna be in that number 1 slot when I do the next update for this one. What do you think? Do you have predictions for the future? We know that Shakespeare's number isn't moving. Shakespeare's not gonna suddenly come back to life and publish more books. And I doubt I'm gonna read more Alan Dean Foster in coming years. I think I've read pretty much everything I can read by him. The people who really I think have the best chance of coming in at the top in the future are Stephen King and Agatha Christie. Both of those are authors that I could just read all the time. I enjoy their books so much. And they have plenty of published books to be able to skyrocket on this list. There's always Brandon Sanderson and R.A. Salvatore. They have written plenty of books with their characters in their series. But only time will tell. So thank you for joining me today. I greatly appreciate you. Every day is a good day for a book talk. Peace.